welcome back to another episode for MC Airsoft. I'm Mark, and today we are going to be discussing how to shoot faster in Airsoft. Now, while this is specific to Airsoft, nothing I'm saying is my own creation. It's things I've picked up along the way over my years of Airsoft and real steel shooting, whether that's from YouTube or in-person instructors or whatever the case is. Nothing's my own creation. There are plenty of good resources out there. Just look up how to shoot faster, and you'll find plenty of good resources. So, second point to make is why. Why do you need to shoot faster in Airsoft? Because most fields restrict full auto for safety reasons, or whether that is restrict it entirely or give you a further minimum engagement distance or whatever the case is. Most fields are starting to restrict it, so it seems kind of counterintuitive to the safety aspect to shoot faster. Now, I'm not saying to shoot insanely fast, like speed soft fast, right? That obviously has its place. They're doing that for a reason, but outside of suppressing fire, it really doesn't mean much for accuracy's sake, or for target hitting sake, right? The problem is that if you have an accurate gun, which within speed soft kind of distance, or CQB distance, or mount movement on urban terrain kind of distances, it doesn't really help because airsoft guns are fairly accurate up to about 200 feet. Some bolt actions and things like that are accurate to 250. Now, yes, I know you probably sat there with your bolt action and hit a target from 800 feet, and I get that. That's cool. Not saying I believe you, but that's cool. If you want to make that comment, go ahead and throw it down in the comments. I don't care. Most airsoft guns are not that accurate, and what I mean by that is the distance at which you can hit a target, a limited exposure, smaller than human-sized target at distance, right? Outside, typically you don't have that long of engagements inside. So what do I mean by limited engagement? Is someone popping cover or someone walking, something where they're not standing static like a guard in a video game and you have 5 minutes to line up a shot and get everything perfect. And the reason I'm specifically saying less than human-sized target is most of the time you're not shooting at a human-sized target. If you surprise someone walking down a hallway towards you or away from you, sure, maybe. But most of the time, whether there's tall grass, brush, vegetation, barricades, walls, maybe they're on the other side of a window, most people, if it's not their first day out, use some kind of cover. Maybe not effectively, but it's still going to limit your target size, right? And well, I bet I can take the rifle that I'm using as my example today and hit a car at 300 feet, 400 feet, maybe if I'm really lobbing it in there. That's not really a realistic example because one, it's not going to do anything to a technical, right? Under most rule sets, unless I get real lucky and peg a driver or something. And two, it doesn't really mean much for airsoft because most of the time there aren't technicals anyway. So I'm saying less than human-sized target and limited engagement. So realistically, with most AEGs, 200 feet is pushing it. Now, with those AEGs at 200 feet, you're probably shooting more than once. Now, bolt actions obviously have their limitations, and so I'm putting them about 250 feet, 200 feet, depending on the quality of the build and all of that. You're going to want to be closer. Yes, of course, 800 feet, I got that, that's cool. But if you think about first round on target, because maybe you won't get a second shot because they're either going to move, or you're going to get flanked, or they're going to turn around and start spraying in your area, or whatever the case is. Maybe you don't get a second shot. So first shot, limited engagement, smaller than human-sized target. So then DMR's kind of in the same boat, but a little bit better, a little higher rate of fire, and your rifleman LMG kind of thing. I'm not really going to touch on full auto today, because how do you shoot faster with full auto? LiPo batteries, MOSFETs, things like that, because you're just holding down the trigger. I'm talking specifically on semi-automatic. So, grabbing my example, my Mark 18 here, the one thing that everyone has to realize when you're trying to learn to shoot faster is you can't outrun your brain, right? And should be fairly obvious, right? But I see it a lot of times where, this is for anyone who cares, clear, no magazine, it's clear. Okay, so what you'll see a lot of the times is you'll have someone shooting, whether this is real steel, airsoft, flat range, in a game, whatever the case is. You'll have someone shooting and they'll be trying to shoot fast and they'll skip beats, right? So something like that, right? Yes, I'm dry firing that. If anyone cares about that, leave that in the comments too, and I might ignore it. So they'll skip beats because they're trying to pull fast and their brain isn't in track with what their finger's doing. So even if you're going faster, you start skipping beats. Now, why is this important to shoot faster and consistently faster? Well, you kind of want to do a shotgun spread. Once you're out past that like 150 foot mark, or you're outside, maybe there's wind or something like that, or you're trying to get punched through branches, you want as many shots down range as possible in a limited exposure in order to get a decent pattern, right? Because that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that shotgun spread. Obviously referring to real steel shotguns, not tri-shot, but even then it's somewhat applicable. So you want to get a good rhythm down. So the first thing you can do is start with, and mostly what we're talking about tonight is building rhythm. All right, so you can start with your 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, and you're shooting on the numbers. So 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, and you're shooting on the numbers, right? So you're building a pattern. And obviously by now, I should have said something, earphone warning. If you're like me, watch YouTube with earphones in, you might want to turn the volume down. Sorry. But then the next step in that is you can increase the speed which you're doing it, so you can go to 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, because and is shorter than Mississippi, right? So so starting on and, giving myself a beat before the first one, right? And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. Okay. So we're trying to link our brain and our finger, which you would think is already linked because it's part of the same body, but it's not really how things work. And then moving on from there, you can speed that up. You can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, giving myself an and, but you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. and then you can speed that up and you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And one thing to note is do not come off the trigger, right? So this is a it's a button trigger. So coming to the wall, braking, resetting, and your trigger is going to vary. I like a long throw my trigger because I want it to be intentional, but you can go faster with that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when you're training this, it might be helpful to say that in your head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Obviously, if you're like me and still running old school batteries, you might outrun your trigger. It's just gonna happen. Because I can pull this trigger faster than the gun can cycle sometimes, right? Because it needs time to cycle. If I'm running old school batteries, this is a 9.6. If I was running a 11.1 LiPo, it would be faster cycle rate. I could do other things to it. I can outrun the gun, but do I need to be able to put down 40 rounds per second? No, I don't. Because also the problem is at a lot of engagement distances, if you imagine shooting at a paper target, a lot of those BBs are going through the same holes, so they're not giving me any benefit. And that's the kind of shotgun idea, right? If this was like in a video game where you had a video game's shot pattern with a shotgun, if you notice, especially with the older ones, newer ones are better, these shots go in the same 7 or 8 holes every time if you stand at a wall and shoot it, right? So you can see the bullet holes. They're going to go, if you have the same point of aim, they're going to go same point of impact every time. What we're looking to do is not go through the same holes if we're trying to get that accuracy by volume. Obviously, if you have a tuned airsoft gun that you know the range and you know the accuracy and you know where it's going to hit first round, it's not really the same idea. But if you have a little bit less accuracy, or maybe you're at a little bit longer range, something like that, getting that good shotgun spread where it's going to go random placement every time can be to your benefit. It's more if you're trying to get through brush, you're trying to get through random obstacles. Obviously, if they pop their head up, you want to be able to pop them first round, right? You want to be able to put one round downrange on target exactly where you want it to be. So different use cases, something to think about. Also, maybe you want 2 or 3 rounds anyway, because let's face it, airsoft, if we're wearing a bunch of gear especially, but even just general t-shirt, pants kind of thing, maybe they don't feel it, but they're going to feel 3 or 4. So giving them the benefit of the doubt that they are in fact not cheating, that's you might want to shoot a few more rounds. And yeah, you can call that overshooting and being a jerk and all that, but if they call their hits after 3 rounds and you don't put 4 or 5 rounds instead, well, that's a benefit, right? So that's another reason to shoot faster. That, and maybe you're moving, right? Maybe you're moving your gun, maybe they're running, something like that. So maybe there's multiple targets, something of that nature. So you want to be able to shoot faster. So once you get used to how fast you can shoot on a static target, then you have to start thinking about a running target, right? So how far is my lead? I need to be able to account for that, of course. But if I'm shooting and I'm tracking, I need to be able to put rounds down range. So that same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 around, and hopefully hitting them along the way. You can also, if I have limited engagement, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I can, something of that nature, right? I can boom, 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 right? Obviously, if I'm surrounded by 5 people, chances are I'm not surviving that, but it's better to go down shooting, right? But it's just things to think about. Obviously, you can vary it. You can do ready up drills with 1, 2, boom, 1, 2, 1, 2, or you can do 3. You can do maybe a cross, right? So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And a thing to remember when you're doing that is you only need to slow down. I see a lot of people go 1, hold, 2, hold, 3. Realistically, how it should be is you're coming up onto the first target, boom, and I'm already starting to move by the time I break that shot in this direction. Now, this is talking close engagements, right? Obviously, if it's far enough away, my movement of the barrel is going to move my point of impact off because I'm moving it within the barrel. But at close range, it might be 1, 2, 3, and I don't want to stop in between because that's going to slow me down, and I can always come back, right? I can always come back through. I can go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Realistically, what I should be doing though is coming center mass, not headshots, not arm shots. We're talking center mass because that's most likely to actually hit something. But I'm going to come up 1, 2, 3, and I'm not stopping. 1, 2, 3, and I can come back with that too. Reason being is because if I come up, stop, 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 that's going to slow me down, inevitably, right? Whereas in CQB manners, every split second you can afford yourself is going to be an advantage, especially if, let's say, they're walking away from you, or maybe they're standing there and haven't seen you, and you need to be able to pop all 3 of them. Well, because sound travels faster than BBs, you might run into the issue that you pull up and you draw down on the guy, but as you're presenting and stopping, by the time you hit the second guy, the third guy might hit you, right? Because I'm lifting, boom, 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 and stopping, and sound travels faster than BBs, so he's going to hear that, maybe even hear that first hit go off before I can get around to him. So boom, boom, boom. The faster I can do that, the better. You can work on this with pie plates. You can work on, I like pie plates because they're metal and they make noise. You work on this with whatever you need to, but work on drills to shoot faster. Work on those drills to link your head to your brain, and not only the uber sexy, cool speed reloads and flipping your rifle up in the air and twirling it about and all that good stuff. Not only coming from low port to high port, low port to on target, or coming from high port to on target, the cool special forces operator, whatever the case is. But also you need to work on actually hitting targets and hitting targets quickly. Work on accuracy first, though, as a fundamental, and then worry about your speed, right? Because you can always make it faster, but if you outrun your accuracy, well, then you're screwed. So, again, just some food for thoughts. Nothing in this was my specific ideas. There are a lot of great content creators out there that know a lot more than I do, but just putting the seed of information in your head. So, until next time, stay safe and stay hydrated.